would you look at that? You go away for an extended 3-day weekend, and all of a sudden, you may have a new star in town, and his name is not just Zach Wheeler. It might be VJ Edgecombe after that Saturday performance and his debut for the Philadelphia 76ers against the Utah Jazz. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on a Monday. We hope everybody had a great holiday weekend, safe holiday weekend, and enjoyed some summer Sixers basketball, despite the fact that in the end, there was a loss. It did not matter. It was about VJ Edgecombe, exactly, along with Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck. I'm Devon Givens, president of basketball operations. Bree is here. All of you in the chat, thank you for joining us. As always, our show is presented by Rothman Orthopedics. Make sure you visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY if you're looking to book an appointment today after that extended weekend, running on the beach, twisted that ankle, whatever it might be, little fireworks, got a little burn on the finger. Hopefully you kept all your fingers.
I hope not. Yeah. Stay away from those
Stay
fireworks,
away from those, man. Rothman Orthopedics, once again, rothmanortho.com/PHLY. So, fellas, we had the first game against the Utah Jazz, VJ Edgecombe and the Sixers taking on the Ace Bailey and the Utah Jazz squad, and the reviews. And
by the way, a very good for Summer League Utah Jazz team because it's a lot of returning high picks, first-round guys. This is like a good chunk of their actual rotation for next year.
Yeah, I mean,
which says something about both the Utah Jazz and their Summer League team.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, a lot of those guys on the team. And but the one that everybody was talking about was VJ Edgecombe and his performance of 28 points. 13 for 27 from the floor, 1 for 7 from three. But it was also the fact that he had 10 rebounds and 4 assists in the game. Only accredited for 2 turnovers out there in the game as well. So while they did get the loss, he had a double-double and looked pretty darn good as he started his debut for the Sixers. So, Derek, just to start with you, man, I know you wrote up some observations immediately at allphly.com. Hopefully everybody's a diehard member.
Thank you to Derek for that.
Go sign up.
I could enjoy my holiday weekend without having to be a responsible person.
He was responsible. And with your responsible way of writing about VJ Edgecombe and the Sixers, what were your initial, for him, observations for this game?
Well, it's funny because I think in the first quarter, you're sitting there and like, this is playing almost exactly to the scouting report, both for VJ and for Ace. I thought Ace came down, first shot, which may or may not have texted Kyle about right when that happened. First shot from Ace, though, was a contested three-pointer with 17 left on the shot clock. Legitimately, there were 0 passes in that possession for the Jazz. And you're like, well, that's exactly the scouting report. Then VJ came down, came off of pick and roll, immediately got his pocket picked. And you're like, well, at least it feels like we did the scouting and it was right, but you would have liked to see maybe something a little different here on this floor. And for Ace, I think it mostly then continued where he played to his scouting report. Both a little bit of good. I like that, when he flashes the middle, when the other team's in the zone, rises up confidently, made a couple nice shots, but also bad. But VJ, I think, showed a lot of stuff that he didn't really show all that much at Baylor. I tweeted or I wrote about this in that article that you referenced, but he made 13 pull-up jumpers all season at Baylor. 13.
It only took, 30-something?
Yeah, it was right. He only shot 25%, so 42 something in that range. Right around 40. It doesn't matter. He came out and he started really hunting those. And the way he was able to stop 2 feet, throw a pump fake, get a defender in the air, and get into his shooting motion, that's where look, I'm not comparing the entire game, but that's where you could see hey, he actually does move a little bit like Jimmy Butler. That's where that really came through. And I think with the increased spacing in the NBA, he's going to be able to get the spots off the dribble, even with an unrefined dribble. And I think he still has some work to go clearly to refine that. But if he can start developing some of these counters, even because we also saw throughout the course of the game, some of the approach on the actual layups that he attempts still needs a little bit of work. He made a nice scoop layup, a couple good shots. But I think there's still he wants to launch from places that I wish I could launch from, and I understand it. But he needs to work on his approach a little bit. If he can develop these counters, I think it's going to make him a much more effective scorer at the rim. And it just seems like that was something that he's focused on over these last couple of months, developing
100%.
A couple of counters for those drives so he can be more of a threat. And it's going to be exciting because he has so much athleticism and he's clearly putting in the work. And this was the first example of some of that progress.
So the number one thing I agree is the pull-up shooting is just wasn't something we saw at Baylor basically at all. So that's the thing that immediately jumps out. Aside from that, though, I think the thing that I was like really heartened by is not only was VJ the most athletic guy on the floor, and all of us expected that, right? Like that's, you put on a highlight reel, you hear what people say about him. You go in thinking, oh, this guy's going to be a lights out athlete. And especially in summer league where there are a lot of guys who are not going to be NBA guys. Mm-hmm. He was also the smartest player on the floor for the vast majority of that game. And we talked about, look, he only put up 3.2 assists a game, I think, at Baylor. Like no overwhelming numbers. And he only had 4 assists in that game on Saturday night. But when you consider the types of reads he was making, right? Live dribble plays where he's hitting a dump off to Johni Broome. He had the one really nice play in the fourth quarter jumped out at me where he did a look away where the low man thought he was going to hit, I think it was Jalen Hood-Scafino in the corner. Guy starts to move, and then Adem Bona is open in the lane, quick bounce pass, easy dunk, right? And so
great pass.
One of the reasons that we talked about his handle, right? And I had said on a recent show that I think people got a little overboard with like, he can't dribble, right? He's not an advanced ball handler, but he still has ball handling skills. One of the reasons you get concerned about the ball handling is like that unlocks playmaking opportunities. That unlocks mid-range opportunities. The biggest thing in the NBA is being able to get to your spots reliably. And frankly, we didn't really know, and we still probably don't know, what will his spots be at this level, right? Will there be more of that mid-range stuff? Will he ever be a pull-up three-point shooter? Is it going to be more cuts and all these things? And I think what I was really heartened by was there was just a little bit of everything, right? Like he took he made 1 3, right? But he's taking different types of shots. The Sixers have empowered him during this summer league so far in game 1. And I assume this will continue to say, you have the green light, right? Like this is your time. You're not going to get an abundance of opportunities right away. Playing with Maxey, playing with McCain, Joel, Paul, to just be hey, I'm going to take 16 footers off the dribble and I'm going to do this stuff. So to see all of that in one game, to see the passing and the playmaking feel, while the athleticism is popping, right? There are rebounds when he's coming out of nowhere and taking the ball from guys who are 4 inches taller, who are waiting there flat-footed to catch the ball. And like, I think you can see, even with a little bit better spacing, their spacing wasn't great, right? No. You're playing Johni Broome and Bona together. You're playing G League guards or like fringe NBA guards that are probably dare shooters in an NBA game. And just that little bit of extra space. Then you imagine what happens when you put this guy with Tyrese Maxey and Paul George and like create those lanes for him where, hey, either you got to step into that space or he's getting to the rim. And if you don't, you're conceding open shots to the Maxies, the McCains, the Paul Georges, Quentin Grimes, assuming that he's back. Like you just start to see the vision for what he can do and what he can be. So yeah, like it was not a perfect game, right? And there are things he has to work on. I think you still see the handling weaknesses. I just think his whole approach to the game came off as like, this kid does not look like he's 19 years old in this setting. And he had plenty of games at Baylor where he did, but it looked closer to me to the Bahamas tape in those games than what we saw at Baylor. And it just made me really excited to watch the rest of this summer league run. And certainly even more excited to watch him with the big guns when they arrive in September, October.
So for me, it was 2 main things of, obviously he looked like he belonged, but it was more of he felt like he was the alpha out there on the floor.
Love that.
And you could see it pretty much right after about, I had this conversation yesterday with somebody else about the 5-minute mark because everybody was a little jittery early on. And
100%.
Once he settled in, he knew, even with Kyle Filipowski and Bryce Sensabaugh on the floor, he knew that he was the best player out there on the floor, bar none. And he carried himself that way. And with it, it was also one of those things. I was talking to one of my best friends where we've been talking basketball since we were little, and said to him, yo, he just has that look.
100%.
That's it. He has the look. And I don't know what it's going to turn into. I don't know what it's going to look like in Las Vegas. But on Saturday night,
we don't know what it's going to look like tonight.
Right. But he had that look where he knew that he was the best player out there on the floor. And to your point of, they have clearly empowered him to be that. He channeled all of that and went out there and did it. So you see some of the talk of, well, he needed 27 shots to get number. I like the fact that he took 27 shots.
And like, look, a couple of those are you take the movement three at the end of the game. You take the heave, right? Like those.
But Kyle didn't even care. It was
I
the
don't
fact
either.
That he took all of them, and he didn't look like he shouldn't have taken those shots. He didn't look like he was uncomfortable taking those shots, and those things. So those were the two main things, and a lot of that just goes into wrapping into everything that Kyle and Derek just pointed out about his performance, where he just knew he belonged out there and he was the alpha out there on the floor. The one play for me was a real simple one of when you talked about the rebounds, just skying and going to get those and making the reads and stuff. He caught that one air ball from whoever it was.
Just slid in right under the basket, right?
Right. So, and he got that dunk. Number one, that's not easy for a 6'5" guy to
stand still
vertical like that, to jump that with ease. And then I think it was somebody, was it Filipowski who tried to contest it even still late, and he dunked that. But it was also that what you brought up of what his role is going to be when everybody is there. He is playing with players that have NBA experience already with Bona and Hush Scafino and Justin Edwards on the floor. And again, he's the alpha out there, in my opinion, based on what I was watching. But he's still doing the role player things of
the transition block on Jaden Springer, getting back and making a play.
After a bad shot that he took. But he got back and he made it, and then he came back and got a bucket. But it was on that play where he got that dunk of, hey, I am going to still do the fundamental things of crashing the glass, being in position as a teammate to go help and clean up the mess of my teammate and try to get us an extra opportunity. It turned out it was his opportunity, but an extra opportunity to go and do that. So those are the type of plays that he's going to have to make when, and Bree is showing it right here, that when he is out there on the floor, that he's going to have to find those creases. He's going to have to find those gaps.
Love how clean that mid-range was.
Exactly. He's going to have to find those gaps to get those chances, because plays aren't always going to be called for him. So he's going to have to make himself available for things like that to happen, to get on the board and impact him. When we had Bryce Drew on the show, he said, hey, he's going to be a stat sheet stuffer. Some games he's going to have 18, some he's going to have 8, 3, and 3, but you're going to feel the impact. And that's just a I'm, again, better than everybody, and I'm an
elite athlete, and I'm just running faster.
This is going to happen, everybody. You're either in my way or you're not, and he just made it happen. So those were the things that really stood out to me immediately. Of he knew he belonged out there on the floor, and he was the best player. And those little small things are going to keep him on the floor. He's not going to have 28 all the time. He's not going to have 27, but he might have 12, 4, and 8 rebounds and a couple of block shots to mix in there with those steals and those deflections that we're going to go back to on postgame on many nights and say, you know what? While he wasn't the star of the game, remember this play that VJ Edgecombe made that helped lead to a key point of the game where it impacted their win tonight.
Let me circle back on what you were saying about you and your buddy talking about he has that
He's got the look,
right?
Man. Yeah.
One of the things I think was most striking was, and this didn't play out, unfortunately, on the final possession, but in the final minute of the game, he went and got a mid-range and hit a shot to, I don't remember if it was either to tie or take the lead, one or the other, but that's not the thing that we were, I think it was the tie, but I don't remember.
I think it was actually to pull them within one. I think they're still down one. It
so
doesn't matter.
In a close
Summer League
game,
score doesn't matter.
Yeah. In a close game, in his mind, there was no doubt. It was, give me the ball and I'm going to go do something.
Yeah.
Then the next possession, again, a must score, like have to get a bucket, have to do something. He goes to the basket and gets fouled, right? Like seeks out contact. Now he misses the free throw, right? But broadly in those final minutes of the game, as you know, everything's on the line, and that's where you might see, hey, a Justin Edwards, a Hood Scafino, like one of these older players is like, no, rookie, like get out of my way. VJ just seized it and said, this is my opportunity, right?
Yeah.
I might not get these opportunities playing with Maxey and some of these other guys, but this I want the ball, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to get a bucket. I'm going to get to the free throw line. I'm going to put myself and my team in a position. So, like, that's part of the issue with VJ for me that made me doubt him a little bit coming into the process or out of the draft process was, does this guy want to take those shots, right? Are you going to take star shots? You can be a really good player, really impactful guy, just doing the stuff he does, like that offensive rebound, the transition defense, playing on the second side. But to hit a high ceiling, to be a featured franchise guy, you're going to have to live with some inefficiencies, some tough shots, some mid-range stuff if they're overplaying you. And look, we don't have to take one summer league game and say, well, this is just who he is, and he's going to be a guy who takes a ton of shots and wants everything. But it is such a contrast to how he played at Baylor that then you say, all right, well, maybe the Bahamas stuff was real. Maybe that's as simple as it is. Maybe you just give him the ball up top and put him with spacing. And this kid has some untapped upside that a lot of people were not seeing when he played at Baylor. So
and Derek, they knew it, his teammates, especially the big men, because to your point,
they were eating good because of him.
They were eating good because of him. And also the other thing of directing things. Come here.
Yeah.
Come set this screen. Come here, right here. And that was both Broome and Bona, who I give credit for just simply coming up, setting real good screens, solid screens, and letting him operate that way. And again, it left no doubt, in my opinion, of hey, I got this. Yep. And while you guys are good, and you're gonna do your thing, you're gonna get your 13, and you're gonna get your 15, and your 16. But yeah, come set this screen right here because we need this right now to run this set.
No, and it really is, because like you look at some of the concerns with VJ as a lead guard, like the handle is there and he'll refine it, but the decision making I think is there. Like, and that is a key part, because there's whether or not it's finishing at the rim, whether or not it's a handle, those are great. Like you can point to examples where people become better at those skills and grow into roles that they didn't previously play. The decision making is always the one where it's like that's just harder to project. It's harder to wrap your head around and be comfortable with. And I think his decision making is largely okay. Yeah. Maybe not super creative, but I think he sees the floor well. I think he anticipates the game well. I think he's able to make reactions out of that. It's just, can he develop his skills? And certainly with the way he looked, I mean, look, it didn't look like the handle wasn't great. And there were a couple times in traffic where I thought he got a little sloppy with the ball, but he's got enough burst. I think he's going to get to his spots. I think the spacing is a real material difference. I think we saw that with the Bahamas. I think we saw that a little bit here on Saturday night. I think we'll see it a lot more, especially when you put actual shooters on the floor like Maxey and McCain. I feel, look, I'm not going to sit here and put too much into one summer league game. It was great to watch. It was great to get these examples of what he might be able to do, and more specifically of the work that he put in. But it just really did reinforce that, like, he might just be tapping the surface of his potential.
And I think to that, the point, Derek, it's most important to me, not that's like, oh, this confirms he's going to be a star. I think the most important thing we learned is like he cleared the bar, right? He cleared the bar of like, this kid has some stuff to, because we've watched Sixers players come in summer league and you're like, oh God, that guy's just, he's not big enough. He's not athletic enough. He can't shoot. He can't do, and like VJ shot poorly, but I don't think that was, I'm not expecting him to be a 1-for-7 level shooter in the league.
All that stuff looked good. He just missed it.
So like, I think the most important, I just felt good about what I saw athletically, feel wise, the variety of stuff he was doing. Like, don't think, unless he could have hit another 3 at the end there to maybe win the game or send it to summer league OT, I don't think there's anything that you would have been like, boy, I would have been much happier if he did this.
The rare summer league game where I was actually rooting for a little bit of free basketball. Almost never happens. Almost never happens.
Absolutely. All right. Talking about the handle a little bit, we're going to get into that a little bit on the other side just because of it is a little loose. It needs to be tightened up, and we've talked about that. And he only had 2 turnovers, but again, it probably with the loose handle caused him to disrupt a few of his drives where he could have gotten a few other things. We'll talk about that. Maybe some counters that he needs to add into for Game 2 tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Talk about Johni Broome, Adem Bona, Justin Edwards, and everybody else with the Summer Sixers. VJ Edgecombe, is a star born? We're discussing it here on the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Monday, presented by Rothman Orthopedics.
All right, well, guys, VJ Edgecombe might be able to succeed on a neutral floor. That is not the case for everyone. Just like your favorite team typically needs a home court advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Tay can help you get it. Empire Tay has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. Because we've all been to some of those big box stores, and while they might have a flooring department, the person actually helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. But with Empire Today, they live and breathe flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home, so you pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space, so you can see how it looks with your furniture and in your house. You get precise measurements taken and have all of your questions answered, so there are no surprises. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. You heard that right, a $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details.
All right, so I walked into my garage yesterday and it felt like a sauna.
I got to tell you, Devon, this Philadelphia heat, especially coming off a cool period, no joke.
All right, so here's what I did. I got like 10 bags of ice, and I made myself an ice bath to stay cool instead of turning on the AC.
But why wouldn't you just turn on your air conditioning?
Well, I was trying to be energy efficient. Go green, go birds, right? And a little power dribble. Make sure I stay away from it.
Yeah, but, instead of icing yourself out, you could just check out Pico's energy saving rebates. They've got deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work, and they cut down your bills.
Hold on. So no more ice?
Unless it's an ice cold beer, Devon, we don't need to talk about ice.
That makes a lot of sense.
So everybody just head to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it. Don't resort to ice like my friend Devon over here.
Stay cool out there, everybody.
We love a wardrobe change mid-show.
Oh, man, we're pros at it now. It's pretty easy. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast, presented by Rothman Orthopedics, as we talk about the summer Sixers. And Kyle, just about the handle, man, just needing to tighten it up a little bit. One thing for me is a lot of times we talk about it, and right-handers tend to go left a lot because it's easier, especially when we talk about the pull-up game. Not only from behind the three-point line, but in that mid-range, it's easier gather when you do so. So going left, easier gather. You go right into your shooting motion with the guide hand already on the ball. But and it seemed like that's what he was doing quite a bit of on Saturday. But he does have to tighten up on it to make sure that he does that. So I'm sure that's something that the Sixers are focusing on.
100%. And he knows, he's talked about it already. Like the handle's got to get tighter. Shots got to be more consistent. Got to work on the driving stuff. And again, like a lot of the conversation we ended up having about VJ during the pre-draft period was about, kind of who he is as a person, right? And the general awareness he has of this is what I'm good at. This is what I need to do to get on the floor. And this is maybe what I'm not so good at, or it needs improvement. And having that kind of guided structure of, all right, I need to do X, Y, Z to get from the level I'm at now to this level and that level, and make the gradual steps. So yeah, I think Derek brought it up, but I think one of the things you saw is that when Utah put a little more pressure on him, whether it was somebody playing high on pick and rolls or some soft traps that they threw at him, he had some trouble beating those and dealing with those, right? And a couple of those were not turnovers, but maybe ones that ball gets batted away, it goes out of bounds, and then you're playing out of a sidelines out of bounds play with, 15 on the shot clock or something. And so then that's more of a condensed possession, and it makes it tougher, right? And so that's one of the areas I think it showed up. I think if you're trying to project forward, one of the other things I would say is, while there were some comfortable, just like dribble right into a mid-range shot possessions, there were also some where he's coming to a complete stop, getting somebody up with a fake and then shooting. Those windows probably won't be there as much, right? There are not as many NBA guys who are going to bite on the stop, pump, and then let him get that shot off. All due respect to Jaden Springer and some of the other guys guarding him, but
I was told Jaden was an equal prospect.
Anyway, I'm trying not to feed into the victory tour stuff that people
I'm
got very mad.
I'm not doing a victory tour, but the Jaden Springer comparison was ridiculous.
And the Zaire Smith comparison. Yeah. All the people who came in here every day and on Twitter and whatnot were like, he's just Zaire Smith. I hope you guys have working eyes still, because clearly saw that wasn't the case. But yeah, you can see the areas where the handle needs to be better. And again, I think the main one is where his pickup points are, how he gathers the ball, and like being a more consistently successful driver, right? Because he has the athletic tools to be an incredible at-rim player. His main issue that you saw at Baylor, and even some in high school as well, is he's taking off from so far out because he thinks he can dunk on anybody. And in many cases, he's right. But sometimes that means you take off and then you see the big man or the low man slide in, and all of a sudden it's not an open path to the lane. It's a collision with somebody. And that's when some of his problems show up in the half court as a finisher at the basket. So I've said it before. I do think that's something that guys of his archetype tend to deal with at this age. A lot of them just go from being by far the most athletic player in every game they're playing in to the margins shrink and defenses are smarter. Scouting reports are much more detailed and consistent game to game. And I believe in him as a worker and someone who's aware of his flaws enough that I think that stuff will be improved over time, but it is something that needs to improve over time. Even like the big scoop shot that was his first make.
Yeah, I was like,
that was just a good touch shot, but that's also an example of he had to make that because of the gathering too far out and not taking that 100%. One more step. And listen, we've seen that even with Tyrese Maxey, right? He was more of I have the advanced runner floater package, and he relied on that heavily. And part of why he was able to make a leap was the coaching staff and the developmental guys got him to get all the way to the rim and put more pressure on the basket. That's how part of how VJ will level up.
No, and if we're asking like where's his points of improvement, you're going to take handle off the board. The next one I would go to is on that layup package, because there were a couple times in that game, not just that scoop, where like just one or two more dribbles and you have a much easier shot. And I think that's probably something we're going to be saying a lot here in the summer and even going into the season. But if you're looking for something that could realistically be improved, because it's one thing to be like, all right, maybe you don't trust in guy's touch. And I don't think he's got like elite touch, but I think he's got better touch than the numbers he put up at Baylor suggested. A lot of it's going to be approach. A lot of it's going to be a little bit of spacing, a lot of bit of approach, and taking that extra dribble. Refining your dribble a little bit where you can more comfortably dribble in traffic and get all the way to the rim. And I think there were a couple examples of that on Saturday night.
Yeah, so one of the other things, if I'll talk about just a little bit of a counter, when you mentioned, Kyle, the pull-up jumper and getting to that spot and getting guys up in the air, he had to create a better lane for himself to shoot. That counter is, I got you in the air. Now I'm going to lean in, and you're going to bump me, and you're going to send me to the free throw line. And that's something that he's 19, so he's going to have to learn that, especially off the 2-foot jump. It's something that you guys both talked about a lot with Con Knipple. Con Knipple talks about, I'm not an athlete, so I have to do a 2-footer. And this is why it works for me. For him, even with that athleticism, while his release point is so high because of how high his vertical is on the jump, he has a good touch. And if he develops that, he's going to shoot at a pretty decent clip from that range. But once he does that, again, just simply getting that bump and getting those guys on his hip and getting them in the air and boom, whistle, get the shot up. You don't make it. Now you get more free throws too. Then that counter turns into something totally different of, I can keep my dribble one more time, because if I give a nice hesitation in that spot, I probably take one more dribble and I'm able to finish right at the rim. If it's not a layup, it's a dunk. And he's 19. And this is why the pros are the pros, that they're going to work on all of these things to correct some of those, not necessarily issues, because again, it's just all about the learning. And as I saw, I think it was 215 Philly, Phil actually saying that it's mental. So once that stuff gets there and you continue to think about it, he's registering a lot of things.
He's going to put on weight too, right? Like he's in good shape. It's not like he's ultra
built,
skinny,
but he's 19 built.
He's going to put on more weight, and so he'll have the strength on some of this stuff too. Where even if he does have pickup points that are a little far out, he'll be able to go through guys a little bit more than he can right now.
So that stuff, man, those are just some of the counters that I see that while it's only one game, he might have 15 points tonight and shoot terribly, but we still see little pockets of things within the game that we like that he didn't do in game one, but he did it in game two. Forgot about some of the things that he did in game one. That'll be back on Tuesday, where it comes back to a complete game of what he does. So those are just the few things that I this is just where and we get nerdy, and all of you guys get nerdy with this type of stuff of, I just love that type of stuff. The same way that while I wasn't a Johni Broome selection for the Sixers at that spot, now I want to see how it comes together. Now I want to see how they put it together, how he puts it together, how they as a team and the developmental staff put it together, and the coaching staff of what it's going to look like. And I love seeing what the next move is going to be. I'm not a chess player because I don't know how to play chess, but in the sense of the basketball chess part of it, I want to know what's that next thing that he does and how hard he works to get to that and what we eventually see. Because when I had a chance to sit there and talk to Tyrese Maxey at like year 3, and I'm like, yo, what are you, these high shots that you're taking? He's like, yeah, I got level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 on the glass that I want to hit when I get to a certain spot and see that. So now I want to see, to your point, how VJ Edgecombe does that. Because while it was a great highlight with that scoop shot, his first basket, I'm like, nah, man, you keep that one more dribble and you got a better opportunity. But because he's athletic and he had confidence in what he was doing, working on probably things like that, he made it. And that's where I want to see what the different layup packages are going to look like and what those counter moves are going to be for VJ Edgecombe.
And he's got a good trainer that he's working with. So.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I know a lot of people have mentioned it. And he's got a good trainer that has worked with a lot of great people in the NBA. All right, we got to talk about some of those other guys that we did see. Talk about tonight's game against the OKC Thunder a little bit. We'll take our quick pause here, our final one, and we'll come back and we'll talk about that. Plus a big deal that we have not referenced as of yet for the Philadelphia 76ers. This is the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Rothman Orthopedics. And our sponsor here on the show, Rothman Orthopedics. Let me tell you about my extended weekend, folks. I'm glad Al is not here. Winona is here, telling me to stay off the court. Hanging out with the family on Saturday night, and my 2 nephews, 15 and 13, say, Uncle D, we're going to play ball tomorrow. Can you come out there with us? And I'm like, man, I can't tell my guys no, right? All right. So we get together, just us 3. We find an empty court somewhere, and we go out there. I don't like playing outside. My back is hurting. I knew it was going to be a problem. My knee and my ankle are fine, but my back is hurting. So I was like, you know what? Before we get on the plane and head out to Las Vegas and I sit on the plane for 5 hours, I got to call my people at Rothman Orthopedics. Yes. And I can do that by, just checking out, my people. That's where Rothman Ortho comes in. Don't let pain pause your summer or your travel or whatever you're doing because of some flare-ups or some old injuries that you just neglected to have checked out. Rothman is the place for you to go. Rothman has 180 plus fellowship-trained physicians specializing in specific areas of the body and the multitude of orthopedic services, including the hip, knee, spine, elbow, foot, ankle, hand, wrist, all of the stuff, back. Whatever you need, they've got you covered. Proudly serving dozens of communities across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Florida, with 30 plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers, including 3 right in Philadelphia, located in Center City, Northeast Philly, and now at the Navy Yard. Yes, easy transportation to get to those 3 locations and the other 30 plus. So if you're looking to get checked out, pain is slowing you down, take the first step. Head to rothmanortho.com/PHLY and schedule your appointment today. Rothman Orthopedics, your summer, your mobility, their mission. Also got to tell you about our other good people at Parks Casino. Once you get all healed up and you're ready to go, it's hot outside, you need to cool off, you go into Parks Casino and you sit in that air-conditioned place, which is fantastic. You can go in and play some blackjack, some roulette, some craps, some poker, some baccarat, all of it. Hot online slots like Cash Eruption, 88 Fortunes, and Cleopatra, those are online slots. And while I tell you about going to the air-conditioned place, I can tell you about staying in your own air conditioning, whether you're at work or at home and you don't want to get on the road, you don't want to get in the car, you just want to sit at home, get on your phone, and go to the great Parks Online Casino app. Very easy to navigate. New games like Huff and More Puff, Fireblaze Sky Queen, and a BetParx exclusive, the only app I ever used to play all of my favorite casino games in the palm of my hand right here on my phone. Play hot online slots based on your favorite streaming shows, Walking Dead, Squid Game, Breaking Bad, etc. They're all out there. New users, a special here. You get up to $1,000 casino bonus back. 1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Simply go to betparx.com and download the app right now and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play. You love to win. You bet BetParx. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Rothman Orthopedics. But we got to tell you about the big deal presented by Cherry Hill Kia. The big deal. Well, this is a pretty good one. I know people buy Kias elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home in your new Kia today, just minutes from all bridges, available online 24/7 at kiaofcherryhill.com. All right, Derek, the big deal. Jabari Walker, a two-way deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. How did they get this one done?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really strong two-way deal. A guy with 3 years of experience who's played pretty regularly for those entire 3 years, you would typically see get something at least a minimum. I think he gives them certainly, like we've complained about rebounding once or twice on this show over the last year. A lot of people in chat may have
conservative estimate, I would say.
It's great to see someone like VJ swooping in and grabbing those 10 rebounds and sneaking in front of big men, but having someone who's actually bigger and around the rim, and I think certainly he can do that. I think it is a low risk, don't want to say high reward because people can overdo that a little bit, but a low risk or no risk, really, it's a two-way, that can come in and step in with a skill set that you desperately need. Because he's a really, really strong defensive rebounder. Like, that's one part of his game where you can look at, like, we can talk about his defense and is he actually tall enough? Like, I think he's about 6'8" with a 6'10" wingspan. He doesn't have incredible physical tools. Probably not going to be too much of a rim protector. Defensively, we can talk about what he won't be, but he's going to come in there and just rebound his butt off. Mm-hmm. And the Sixers really desperately need someone like that. I think he's someone who's going to work hard. I think he has shown a little bit in terms of his shot. I know he shot the ball pretty well last year. Sample size, yada, 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 not huge. But he's going to rebound. And it's just great to have somebody like that who's, not completely unskilled.
I think he's just a smart player who clearly has NBA tools and has one thing that we know he's going to do, which is rebound. I think he's also... I would hesitate to call him a switch defender, right? Because I do think it's more on the higher end of the front court. He can switch against a couple of positions, but I would not be like, I trust Jabari Walker out on an island against guards on a regular basis. No, but I think for me, it was the perfect two-way signing because he's still young while having 3 years of NBA experience under his belt. He has been as far as I can tell from talking to people, like good culture guy in Portland, like has been, if he plays 20 minutes tonight and 0 tomorrow, like he's not someone who grumbles and is causing problems. There'll be times where he goes a week or two without playing, comes back in and he plays super hard and does the things that he does. And the shooting progress is what's interesting, right? Because if he rebounds the way he has and he can be a reliable floor spacer, that's a real deal NBA rotation player. Now, how much do you put into last year's numbers? Not a ton. Like it's just not a lot of attempts. He's playing a small role. And I think it's just like you come in and you say, if they get a back end of the rotation player out of a two-way spot and it's at a position of need, I think that's an outstanding two-way deal. You hope that he levels up and grows as an offensive player. I sent a video to members of our Discord, and you guys can look it up at some point if you'd like. There's a video of Paul George working out. It was either last summer or summer before in a gym with a trainer, and it's just him and Jabari Walker specifically going through drills. And one, I think people should see it because it shows Paul George is easy to, make fun of and meme and whatever, but he does a lot of like really detailed as they're working through these reps. It's a lot of like punch, dribble, counter moves, like different attacking the basket off a closeout, step back jumper type work. Paul George really drills down on like these tiny individual details with Jabari Walker, who's sitting there like listening to Paul, taking his instruction, taking the trainer's instruction, and like seems like a kid from everything we've heard who wants to get better and is working on stuff that frankly actually applies to his game, right? Like actually is relevant for him. Some of these guys get in a gym with a trainer and they're doing stuff that they would never ever be asked to do. So it's a really cool piece of inside look at it. I think it's like a 20-minute video, so you see quite a bit. But seems like a good kid, has a dad who played in the NBA for a decade.
Jabari Walker,
knows what it takes to be a pro on that front on several levels. So yeah, I think this was a home run of a two-way signing. Was a little bit surprised that he did not get a minimum deal somewhere, because I think he's clearly an NBA guy.
I think with 1 year, 2 years with Damian Lillard in Portland, and Damian Lillard went out his way on social media after not playing with him for a while of shouting him out because he did in fact sign with the Sixers, and that's to the point of the good teammate that Kyle is talking about. He has averaged 6.2 points per game in 16 minutes. Played 188 games for the Portland Trailblazers this past season. He played 60, averaged 5.2. In the 23-24 campaign, he averaged 23.6 minutes, 72 games played, 8.9 points with 7 boards in that one. So,
and last year, he kind of ran into, they had a ton of wings and forwards in Portland, and he was the victim of a minutes crunch. But still, I think he played, like 60 games?
60 games.
And it's still,
12 minutes.
Again, from everything we heard and saw, approach was the same, like embraced his role, whatever it was, night to night, even if it's sitting on the bench waving towels and cheering on his teammates. So good guy to have on a two-way.
All right.
And this is the last year he's eligible for a two-way. Two-ways can only be signed to players with 3 or fewer years experience. He has 3, so this is the last two-way he can sign. So if you want to end up keeping him around, he would be a guy you'd want to convert later on in the season, sort of like what the Sixers did with Justin Edwards.
Jabari Walker signing with the Sixers. That's our big deal from Cherry Hill Kia. Again, simply don't know why. I get that people, they buy Kias elsewhere. Just don't know why. Make sure you drive home in your new Kia today, just minutes from all bridges, or available online 24/7 at KiaofCherryHill.com. All right, Kyle, so checking in with some of the other players that stood out for you in the game on Saturday. Adem Bona, Johni Broome.
Yeah, I mean, Adem Bona is easily, after VJ, I think he was number one, right? Like, we talked before Summer League started. For me, one of the most important things is when second, but especially third-year guys, when they come into Summer League, you want to look at them and say, oh, this guy's too good to be playing in those games. And I think you saw a lot of that from Adem Bona. I think we saw more of the stuff we were seeing last season, right? The pass fake into a drive. I think we saw him the other day at a mini camp practice, and Derek and I were both like, he looks like he put on some muscle. Yeah. Like, looks like he's bulked up. And I think that turned into functional strength in the game, right? He had the one where he basically just shrugged off Filipowski and dunked through him. Like, that was great. I think defensively, you continue to see incredible athlete, right? The stuff he can do in space. I think he blocked a Collier floater or runner at some point, which is pretty difficult to do. But it just looks like an NBA guy who I think has the clear inside shot to be the backup center this year, and maybe the starter when Joel is out of it. So feel very good about how he looked. I feel good about him and VJ just for this summer run, right? Like some interesting stuff that they can do. As VJ plays point, you run some pick and rolls through him, and Adem, as his ball skills are improving, can do some of his own stuff off the bounce and off 1 and 2 dribbles. So was just super encouraged by him. Outside of that, I wasn't thrilled with a lot of the rest of the guys. Like Broome had some nice moments, but I do think you can see a little bit of the is he stuck between worlds a little bit positionally?
Little tough when you're forced to play with cement in your shoes, so you got to take that into account.
Now, in fairness to Johni, I don't think he had tons of playmaking opportunities, and I do think that is part of his appeal, right? And he did have some moments early in the game where he was just big boy and some guys around the rim for rebounds. And so it came in fits and starts. And I do think over the course of their summer league schedule, my guess is at some point Bona will probably sit down. I don't think he's going to play this full summer league run based on what we saw in game 1. And that would give Broome some opportunities where maybe he's playing more solo big minutes. And then I think you can see more.
For our sake, I hope that he plays for the next week.
Adem?
At the very least, yeah.
I mean,
he'll play the first
great.
couple of games in Vegas for sure. Yeah.
But he looked as good as I think you could have hoped for. And I think there was at least like some pause going into next season thinking, boy, Adem's going to have to play a lot of minutes after playing last year when it was stakes-free basketball, and like you can enjoy the flashes, but has to be a good player. But he showed exactly what you want out of a second-year guy at summer league.
Yeah, he. I mean, the 8 fouls is always funny in summer
Oh, that
league.
was so. I probably should not have skipped over that.
He
was way too jumpy, and that still has to be cleaned up.
Yeah, he still has to get that together.
Summer league refs are a bit of a joke. Like they call 50 fouls every game.
And by the way, I think VJ might have gotten fouled on the dunk attempt in transition that got blocked. It looked like he got hit on the wrist, and so
No, he looks solid though.
What I like about you talked about how VJ came in and looked like he's like, I know I'm the best player. Bona came in, he knew that like Filipowski had no shot. And he just lowered his shoulder, extended a little bit, got the separation, and went up strong. And there were like, I looked it up, I think he shot like 76% at the rim last year, something absurd like that. And a lot of that comes down to like, well, he's being spoon-fed, he's being set up, and of course. But he made a couple plays in that game where it's like a guy who's weaker, who's not as physically imposing, who doesn't get off the ground as quickly, simply just doesn't convert that.
Yeah.
And he's playing to his strengths a little bit more offensively in ways that at this time last year, I don't think he was capable of. And it's fun to see. Like, I have pretty good confidence in Adem Bona being a backup big, which to get that at the 40 whatever pick from last year's draft, it's a really good development story.
And what are your take on Broome and how he looked?
No, I mean, like, to your point, I think if he had a chance to run a little bit more offense, he might have been able to play to his strengths a little bit more. He certainly had a couple moments. And, like, he'll rebound. He doesn't move outside of his area all that much. Like, he just doesn't change his direction all that great. Made a couple shots. That was fine.
He took 4 threes, and I wish he would have taken a 5th. I thought he had a shot in the corner on the possession where Justin Edwards eventually stepped out of bounds, but was a willing enough shooter.
I'm going to continue to be a Broome skeptic. Like, I just think a lot of what he did offensively, I struggle to see translating. Missed a couple of free throws. I know you.
He made his early ones, but then he missed like the later ones. They always that always seems to be a problem for him. The later ones, but
I actually just remembered, and I meant to text you guys when I went back to watch this game. The big negative for Adem was a single play. It was in the first half when he got the trail 3. I don't know if I have ever in my life heard a louder "hell no" from somebody as Adem was loading up the trebuchet to shoot that 3. And that's not to say he's working on it. I believe that the shot looks okay from the corners and all that.
It needs to be.
But boy, the Utah Jazz did not think that shot was going in a million years. And I was like, damn, I feel bad for Adem because the ball was, I think he was like mid form. It wasn't even released, and it was go back. If anybody DVR'd it, it's somewhere in the first half. I audibly laughed at how clear it came through the rim mics.
What did you make of VJ Edgecombe talking trash to what was the guy's name? I know his name. Yeah, it was Harkless, and saying that, yo, man, I'm the number 3 pick. And
called him. I don't think we can repeat it on
we're not in overtime.
this portion of the show.
But I mean, you like some guys are just quiet. You don't have to say anything, and some are like, yo, man, come on, man, you can't do anything with me right here.
Well, it's something you did see at lower levels too, right? Maybe not as much last year at Baylor, but in high school he did a lot of jawing with guys in games that I watched.
But again, a lot of people did not see that high school tape to know.
One of the most notable ones is actually the other it was in the other direction.
Oh, Cooper Flagg.
He played Cooper Flagg.
Right.
And Cooper Flagg went to VJ, was like, you not like that. And that was like a big thing, which is part of why I love Cooper Flagg. Like, he's a big competitive trash talker, all that stuff. But yeah, like, everything about VJ screams hyper competitive kid. The trash talk, right? He did his post game interview after the game, and he had this, tremendous debut for Summer League. And his first thought was like, well, we lost the game. So, it was a good game, but we lost, and was upset about it. And like, is that a little bit like, it's cliche and whatnot, but you love to see the competitive fire, the confidence. And it was connected to how he played is the most important thing. To circle back to what you said, Devon, just like he knows it. Like he has that look, he has the confidence, taking these shots, sprinkle in the trash talk, right? And some nights he's going to need that. He might take 4 or 5 shots in a game as a rookie, right? Playing off all these guys. But that energy is needed on the other end of the floor, getting into somebody's chest, like just being an irritant and a pest and saying, my main job right now is you're not going to score the ball, right? So that attitude will show up in a bunch of different ways.
Last one I wanted to ask you guys about before we get to the super chats, so we don't go too long here, is Justin Edwards. What did you think? He was the guy that we talked about with Bona, that you walk into this setting, you've been here before, and I go out there and just, ball out. And he had 13, he had a couple of shots, but it just didn't.
Nice catch and shoot 3. That was nice to see. Look, I remember Justin's Summer League last year, and like it was like panic levels bad.
Yes.
Not panic levels because he was undrafted, but still, like he just did not give you any reason to believe. And certainly this was better than any performance he had last year. I do think we get, to Kyle's point, like when you're a second-year player, especially one that came off a reasonable amount of success as a rookie, unexpected success, just got himself a new contract because of it, the expectations are to dominate. And I think Justin's the type of player where, like, whenever those are the expectations, he's probably going to disappoint you, or at least he's a threat to disappoint you, because, like, him just facing up, being given the rock and creating, just not his game. No. It's not what he's good at. It's not how you're going to ask him to do in the real games. And on the one hand, like, with VJ, it's like, all right, get out of your comfort zone. We want you to try stuff you're not comfortable with. With Justin, I'm not sure I necessarily want him to do that. No. So I don't really know how to evaluate him or what my expectations should be. But I thought, he struggled for the most part. He had moments, but he struggled. I just don't want to overreact to it.
I think he pressed a little bit early, and then as the game went on, settled more into that, I'm going to pick my spots and be selective. And I agree with Derek wholeheartedly. Like, he's not someone... If VJ wasn't there, if this roster was the exact same and VJ wasn't there, then I'd be more like, hey, let's let Justin Edwards go out there and just kind of try stuff, right? See if he can run more pick and rolls and see how much of the offense you can play through him. Not because I think that's what he's ever going to do for this team, but just because he's one of the best guys that they sent out there. And I'd like to see him experiment a little bit. But I think it's going to be either Justin shoots well or Justin doesn't shoot well. And a lot of it otherwise will be predicated on guard play. VJ was great on the guard subject. Boy, Hood Scafino had some trouble dribbling the basketball in that game. Ended up with, I think, like 8 assists, which it did not feel that way at times, But
early on when VJ was struggling, they made sure that Hush Scafino, though, had the ball because VJ was too uncomfortable with the basketball.
And I think that's where you saw maybe a little bit of the jitters, just like, hey, VJ's got to see a shot go down, settle into this game. And then once he settled in, it was great. It was a shame Hunter Salas, who we talked a lot about.
Yeah, he was my focal.
Had an ankle issue. I don't know if they said it was from practice or what it was. It does sound like he will play at Summer League at some point, and he was more of a day-to-day thing, but we don't have a timeline right now. So hoping to see him, because I was expecting him to be either threat to start or at least like one of the first guys off the bench. And then
Philly Dell with a good point in the chat, though. Like, whenever you hold your man to 8 points on 3 for 13 shooting, you did something good in that game.
I've seen a bit of excuse making for Ace, and to be clear, like, nobody is saying, "Oh wow, Ace had a bad game."
I'm just trying to give Justin credit for his defense.
Got you.
Let's have a brief Ace chat here. I think, to our credit, it was exactly what we kind of thought Ace was going to look like, right? That I'm more of a believer in the floor, and I think the rebounding, he had some defensive flashes in that game. You saw a bunch of that. And the funniest part that came out of this game were people who were like, Well, his teammates froze him out of the offense. He tied for the team lead in field goal attempts in that game. He didn't get the ball every time down the way VJ did, but that's also not going to happen until he's a more refined and developed offensive player. So
played 25 minutes. Got a lot of time.
And that was basically all those guys. It was like Sensabaugh 27, Cody Williams 25, Filipowski 25. They were all right in
Walter
that band.
Clayton 25. Yeah. And he came off the bench and still gave you 25 minutes. So, yeah. Did you have any more Ace stuff? Because I don't.
His shots were awful. I'm so glad I don't have to sit up here and be like, no, it's okay.
I'm just glad the inevitable 30-point Summer League game did not happen in that game, because the chat today, everyone was getting on my case for, oh, you took a victory lap over one game. Do you think that people would not have been all over this chat and all over Derek and I's Twitter mentions Saturday, Sunday, and today if the roles were just exactly reversed? It'd be nothing but, you guys are idiots. I can't believe they passed on the next Jason Tatum and all this other nonsense. So have a dose of your own medicine. How about that?
Yeah. One last thing on Justin Edwards for me was I agree with Money Mar a little bit that needs a point guard out there willing to get some easier shots for himself. But I also think that for him, don't dance around too much with the basketball. Yours is quick decision. Put the ball on the floor, go do what you're going to do, get into your pull-up, get to the rim, finish, whatever you're going to do, that type of stuff. So that's what I think for Justin Edwards. And I'm not worried about him. I thought he was fine, and he was okay. The key here was VJ Edgecombe. All right, let's get to the super chats that we do have here. One starting with Mr. Sandman, since we were talking about the mid-range. VJ was a master of the mid-range game like a young Jimmy Butler. The look that I had was he looked like Anthony Edwards. People talk about it, and I'm like, he did look on the pull-up game of how it looked, because maybe it's because of the elevation that I see it that way, but he looked like Anthony Edwards in those types of shots there.
I did think the two-footed stopping pump fake was a little Butler-esque. I see that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing he doesn't do that Butler's great at is he doesn't use that to draw fouls at all. Like when Butler gets you in there, like
Jimmy is an apex grifter.
And you'd love for VJ to learn that. But yeah,
Jimmy's also a tank. Like he is just so, and that's something that'll be an age curve thing for VJ.
That's the counter right there. All right, we go next to Shahid saying the Sixers haven't had so many dynamic guards since I've been watching in the 80s. So, of course, fans are in a rush to trade some of them. A lot of them have been maxi talks, of course, of if VJ and McCain work out.
Too now
Quentin,
because of the,
so
I don't think they have good basketball players, and they have time to sort it out.
Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
Yep. The backcourt looks pretty good right now, and the Quentin Grimes thing will play itself out. That's crazy. I see the vision. If Butler, Anthony Edwards, Dwayne Wade, Vince Carter, and Michael Jordan had a baby, that baby is VJ. Already locked in my bet for Rookie of the Year at plus 1,100.
See, this is what we on the set are not going to do, right? We're going to say it was a good game. I'm thankful to VJ that he had that good game in a scenario that allows us to just push back on the people who are screaming at us for 2 months.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stop short of comparing VJ to first ballot Hall of Famers. Let's let him play a second game, and then we can call him.
But after that second game, you just can't deny
we can
it.
say he's a future Hall of Famer. No, but look, here's the thing. We're all very happy that Sixers fans had something exciting happen to them,
Yes.
right? Like
Absolutely.
the thing that we talked about before the show, our Discord was going crazy on Saturday night. July 5th, 4th of July weekend.
Watching
9
summer
o'clock
basketball.
game. Summer League basketball was like just my phone notifications were going crazy. So
that's dope.
You guys are passionate. You want this team to be a lot more than they were last year. And VJ just breathed some new life into the fan base. Love that.
And you just want hope. Like you've said this time and time again, when McCain went down, that's when hope died. Like now you have 2 young guards that you have hope for.
Yeah.
Not a lot of overtime for us today, folks, but we are going to overtime quickly here, allphly.com. We thank everyone on the television side. Stay tuned on the side here, allphly.com. Some news and notes. So make sure you hang with us here at allphly.com. All right, some quick news and notes. Then we get into our, of course, world famous roll call. Shahid with one more super chat. Tell Damian Lillard to hit up Kyle for calf tips.
Derek getting left out of there. Derek showing some calf over there on the other side of the set. So
appreciate it, Shahid.
Thank you, Shahid. I appreciate it.
Number one, a summer league news and notes. As we right now have, after one game, they retire Omar Cooper Jr., no longer a guest head coach for the Jazz because the NBA sees it as a bit of a conflict of interest.
Stunner.
For Omar Cooper Jr. on the bench for the Utah Jazz. Stunner?
Why would you think the agent's son should be coaching your summer league team?
I didn't want to get DMCA'd, but I almost quote tweeted that when the news came out of either Jay-Z or Chris Rock saying, grand opening, grand closing. All the best to Omar Cooper.
Hang up the whistle, man.
Junior.
It's over for you for the Summer League there. And finally, just some more national news and a surprise one. Earlier today, Shams breaking the news. The Clippers, Jazz, and Heat have agreed to a trade that sends Norm Powell to Miami, John Collins to the Clippers.
By the way, Taryn said Omar leaving instead of Omar coming.
Omar leaving. Great one. Great one.
Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to make sure I didn't
That was a good one.
that.
That was a good one. The Clippers and the Jazz again. Miami gets Norm Powell. The Los Angeles Clippers, John Collins from the Jazz. And Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and the 2027 Clippers second round pick, Kyle, to the Utah Jazz. And right now we think that Kevin Love might be bought out. Norm Powell is on the final year of his
Would
deal.
you take Kevin Love as a vet min?
You know what? I would. Why not? He can play some of those stretch 4 minutes or stretch 5 minutes. We've seen it enough where he can still hit it.
Yeah, he feels like more of a 5 these days, and I don't like him playing the 5. So
I'd give it a shot.
He'd be a placeholder until you
give it a shot.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd give it a shot.
I gotta be honest. So I was driving my sister to the airport when this trade broke, and I pulled my phone up when I got home and was like, "Huh, that's a trade that happened." I do like it for the Clippers a little bit. I think John Collins, especially with a playmaker like Harden, we saw him have a lot of success with Trae Young, obviously. So I think kind of fits in that same box. Can do some different lineups where plays the 4, he plays some small ball 5.
I can see him at the 5 with Batum being out there with
They continue to have some like cap space moving forward. They didn't commit to Powell. I don't know what that does for Miami to hard cap yourself for Norm Powell. I don't think he makes a lot of sense with Tyler Hero without there's no real guard to play point there unless you're a real believer in Davion Mitchell.
Is going to get the nod.
And then Utah.
Just tanking.
I don't know. I never know what they're doing. That's why I like everybody who's been on.
Got to get that second round pick.
I'm really fearful that Danny Ainge did this. Like, what has Danny Ainge done in the last few years? Nothing.
No.
I don't know.
No
we'll
thoughts?
see.
I mean, I'm surprised Utah wasn't able to get more. To be honest, I know he's an expiring, but still.
Yeah, I thought, and maybe that's just how the league is right now with the because we talked about Daryl with the KJ Martin balloon contract to flip him, and then you end up having to attach stuff to get off him to duck the tax. So just tough to move guys who are not positive value contracts on top of positive value players. Right, unless you're the Celtics.
So those are
the Celtics somehow hoodwink everybody.
Yeah. And I want the Anthony Simons thing hasn't become official.
So did
yet?
you see, I brought it up during our meeting today. Apparently that trade is being amended and there will be no picks being swapped because something came up on Drew Holiday's medical that they didn't cancel the trade, but Portland was like, I don't think we're going to give you anything else to make this deal. So that I actually like that deal a little bit better for them now. It's just a player for player swap.
Sure. Yep. All right. That'll do it for us here, everybody. Make sure you check out the game tonight so we can all talk about it tomorrow when we're back here at 3 p.m. Sixers take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. So you get a little AJ Mitchell on that side, maybe some Thomas Sorber as well.
See
and
some Topich had some moments, and that Derek was very high on him last year. We talked about him a lot. So
so good OKC team over there that the Sixers are going to have to go up against, and curious to see how VJ Edgecombe does in game number 2 as the Philadelphia 76ers for the Summer Sixers. All right, let's get to the world famous. It's roll call time, everybody.
That's right.
Roll call from Vegas later in the week.
First 2 on the roll call. I am putting out an APB on Brian Pumper.
Who's that teacher guy, too?
I said first 2.
Okay.
Brian Pumper.
Sorry.
Put you on a milk carton. You're on there. Missing person.
Pump it up, missing person.
The pump it up segment. There is none today.
He's watching, I'm sure.
Second one, as Derek points out, goes to Teacher Got Game, who I will remind everyone promised a $500 super chat simply if Ace didn't get taken number 3.
So that's about 2 weeks ago now.
You are overdue. You have not shown face, let alone put up that $500 super chat. And I will continue to remind you because that would probably go, well, we might be able to set up some sort of, maybe it'll go to
charity or
something. But I'm just putting
big
it
brothers,
out there.
Big sisters.
I'm guessing we don't see Teacher Got Game.
I don't think we're going to see him for a while. I think Pump at least will come in and
no, the first time Ace has a good game, Pump will be here.
And
Absolutely.
Pump is a regular watcher of the show. I'm sure he'll be in here at some point.
Speaking of super chat.
And a last super chat from Music Lover 31 who says, shout out to PHLY. You guys knew about VJ all along. I wouldn't say it. So here's why I'll downplay that.
We uncovered a gem.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah. It's not like hey, I saw this kid in Siberia who I think is going to be really good. Like, I think we just spent a lot of time watching these guys and felt good about him as a player and a person. Devon did end up as the only guy to have him at 3. So right now, Devon technically has the biggest victory lap of all.
Not at all.
Until Trey plays.
I can't wait to see Trey.
But thank you to Music Lover. And thank you to many of our wonderful friends who are here once again today. Like PHLY, like Hedfa, like Jess, my girl
Purple
Winona.
Heart. Hey, Nona.
Freddie Powell.
What up, Freddie?
Eugene Ross. Bootzilla.
Boots.
Terrence Knights, who said, get Teacher on a payment plan, maybe. One of the craziest things, you guys see people putting meals on payment plans. I don't know what that company is. People like getting a meal from Chipotle, and it's like, I'm going to pay that in installments.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
That's some real dystopian stuff, if you ask me. Anyway.
A little over the top.
215 J Philly, Mom's grandchildren.
What up, Jay?
What's up to Mom? Brian Knight.
B Knight.
Darkness!
Turn the lights down for... I didn't have one ready.
For B Pump.
For B Pump.
Yeah.
Yes, turn it down.
What's up to Theo? What's up to Lee Nguyen?
What up, Lee?
I'm ready for some Yang Gang out in Vegas. I kind of want to see what that looks like. And oh yeah, I did see that workout video. That was fun. Martian Lynch.
What up, Martian?
Kamel. What's up to Kamel? Young 4. Duck Holiday, who's still flag is planted on Ace Archipelago. So,
he's here. The duck is here.
In fairness, it's one game, and that was, I don't really care about one game of basketball in Summer League. So no opinions changed there. Glenn A. Jeffrey Stewart.
What up, Jeff?
Man, that darkness really hurt my throat. Haven't done a darkness
Mellow,
yell,
my
and
man.
it feels
Hey,
like a
Val.
while.
I saw Val in there.
Wawa Marvel.
Wawa. Theo.
Wawa gets free promo every time we say Wawa Marvel.
What up, Marvel? Well, if we say
so
Marvel,
is Marvel.
Marvel movies.
Mellow 3 Point, who's
Mellow,
been on the VJ train for a while. DC Marley, Marcus Blackstock, DJ, a.k.a. Mr. Sandman.
Bring me a dream.
Who are our other super chats, Bree? That's Crazy, Shahid, DJ, Mr. Sandman, Shahid again, and Music Lover 31. Thank you, everybody. Valhos, I almost forgot.
I got Val for you. Don't worry.
Tiggy Skibbles. That's a new one.
What?
I'm just reading the name. And then Yams, of course, our buddy Yams.
I'm not even saying it.
Thank you, everybody who was here, even if I didn't get
Turn
to.
the lights down for Omar Cooper Jr. on the coaching career.
Turn the lights down.
Not a moment too late, buddy.
Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live, and hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed watching VJ Edgecombe, if you enjoyed watching this show, but especially if you want to say thank you to our wonderful super
What up,
producer,
Corey?
Bree. Oh,
What
and
up,
by the
Corey? I
way,
see you.
one last super chat
up, Corey?
from Jay of the Jungle, who said, forgot me.
And Corey said it too, so we got Jay and Corey.
And
What up,
Corey,
Jay? What up,
John
Corey?
of the Tundra. It's good to see you, buddy. Thank you, everybody, for being here. But please hit that thumbs up button to say thank you to super producer Bree, who is making her first voyage to Vegas with us
And
this
we couldn't
week.
be happier.
We couldn't be more thrilled about that. Guys,
Love it.
we'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. to talk some more Summer League hoops. Until then, take care.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.